Okay, it's shock building time. Looks complicated, but it's not. Not complicated at all. Let's go ahead and get some pieces and parts out. What we're going to do is I'm just getting out some of the oil here, and you'll see why in just a second. And let's open up the 30 weight. Okay. So, what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to build this little unit right here. And we're going to build 4 of them because they're all 4 the same. We're going to start and go ahead and get out the AX31031-4, which is this unit that has all the little holes in it. You're going to have 4 identical trees. So we're going to build 4 of these units. Pretty straightforward. From there, you're going to get the AX31031-5, which is this unit that has all the little studs on it. And then the little -2, which is a plastic spacer. We're also going to need 1 of the 15.5 millimeter O-rings per unit and 2 of the littler ones, which are a P4 O-ring. Okay, first thing we're going to do is get a little bit of your shock oil. You don't need a whole bunch. Put some on your finger, and let's moisten up the little silicone parts. It's always good to do that. It just helps them go together easier, and it helps them from not tearing when we put a shaft through them. You don't need to really drown them or anything. You just want to lube them up just a little bit. So we're going to start off with this unit here, and you're going to see a hole here, and we're going to stuff one of the little O-rings into the hole. And if you have something to pack them down in there with, great. If not, you can just put them in there one at a time. We're going to put 1 O-ring followed up by the little plastic spacer, followed up by 1 more O-ring. That is what it's going to look like. Let's take the larger O-ring, and it's going to seat into this little portion here. So we're going to stretch it over, roll it over the threads, try not to tear it, and seat it down into the groove. Just like so. And then take the unit here with the little studs on there, line them up with the holes here, and push it together. It's just a friction fit, so don't worry about trying to get it to snap into place or anything. And go ahead and continue to do this until you have all 4 of them built. Alright, for our next step here, we're going to put the ride height adjusters onto the tubes, and those are the AX31032-2s. You'll see that there's a little step down here, and then it has the little grippy parts on the ring. You want the step down to go towards this end. They're a little bit difficult to get started. You don't want to cross thread them, so take your time and put them on all 4 of the tubes. Just put them, somewhere about halfway down or so. It's not critical at this point. Go ahead and get all 4 of those done. Just like that. Okay. The next step you should be very familiar with. Let's take our AX31032-5s and insert our little swivel bally dealios, which are the AX31024s, which we have done so many times in the past. And it never gets easier. So let's go ahead and put those in. And as we are finishing up this step, this is the last, what we're going to call universal step in building the shocks, because now we're going to build 2 front shocks, and we're going to build 2 rear shocks. Most of the parts are still universal, however there's going to be one difference, which are the pistons. So for the next step, we're going to start with the front, and we're going to get out the pistons, which are the AX31031-10s, and they are a 4-hole piston. If you take a look at your tree here, you're going to see that it's going to be the number 10 unit, which says 1.4, and it has 4 holes in it. As you take these off the tree, you're going to see that where they're attached is on the top. You want to hold it in this direction and bend it up when you take it off, so that it does not leave a burr on the side of the piston. And you're going to want to also, if there is any roughness on there, and I'm just using my fingernail to smooth it out, you want them to make sure that they're perfectly smooth all the way around. So again, you're going to grab the 4-hole piston. Let's take a look and make sure that the tab is on the top, and we're going to bend it up and make sure that there are no rough spots going around the piston. So the fronts are the number, or the units that have 4 holes in them. I'm going to get out the rest of the parts, and we will go from there. Okay, here we go. All 4 of the shafts are the same length. There is no longer or shorter one for the front or the rear. You're going to see that it's threaded on one end, and then on the other end is a smaller thread along with a shoulder. Let's work on the shoulder end, and we're going to take one of the small silver shims and slide it over the shaft and over the shoulder. Let's keep the 1.4 label in the upper position as we slide that over, and it goes over the shoulder. Then we're going to apply one more of the little washers or shims on top of that, and then one of the small silver colored lock nuts. And where is my tool? Somewhere hiding is my little nut driver. Where did you go, nut driver? Ah, here we go. Okay. Let's find the right size here. There we go. And the shaft is turning in my hand. So we are going to hold the shaft with a pair of pliers, but I'm going to use I don't have my shock pliers. I have special shock pliers, but they're not here. So I'm going to use a little plastic bag over here left over from the parts and hold that so it doesn't get marred. We're going to tighten this screw up, but we only want to tighten it until there's no play. And you still want to be able to spin the disc. So you don't want to over tighten it. Okay, see, that's a little bit tight there. You can, it's not necessary that they spin. However, it's nice that they do. That's my preference, and that's how we do that. So let's go ahead and build the second one again real quick. And we're going to use a little washer. Then we're going to put on the disc with the number in the up side. One more little washer. And then the silver lock nut. Nylock nut. Okay. And we'll tighten it up, but you don't want to over tighten it. Okay. There we go. Now those are the front. Again, remember the ones with the 4 holes are the front shocks. Now, here we go. The fun part. We are going to take a little bit of our, you know what? I'm not going to use that. What am I going to use? I am going to use some grease here. What happens is we need to poke the threads here through the top unit that has those little rubber or the little silicone seals in there, and we don't want to cut those seals. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the grease, not a whole bunch, but just a little bit of the grease from the gears and put it over them, the threads, just to fill the threads up a little bit. And we are going to take one of our tubes and go ahead and thread that bottom unit that we made earlier in. You want to be careful as you start screwing it in to make sure that that gasket doesn't pinch. You want that gasket to go down inside, so just go ahead and turn that very, very slowly. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the little tool that we have here was going to fit over that so that you can hand tighten it. You don't want to hold this with pliers. You just want the bottom cap to be hand tightened. Now we're going to slip the shaft down inside and through the hole from the inside. Once you locate the hole, don't just shove it in there. Just be very, very careful and rock it and very gently slide it through, like so. It should move back and forth nice and easily. It's almost phallic, I'm sorry. Okay, now we are going to take one of the rubber bump stops here, and they are coned, and we're going to want the smaller portion of the cone to go towards the shock itself. So go ahead and slide that on, and then we're going to thread the holder on. And again, you're going to need to hold the shaft. When you thread these on, you're going to thread them on until there's no more thread left. The grease on there is going to help you get them on. Screw them in just until they stop. And you're not going to want to see any thread left over here. Okay. Go ahead and repeat that process for the other front shock, and then we're going to build the rear. Now, before we go any farther, it's going to be at some point not possible to tell which is a front and which is a rear. So, you know, it's up to you. You can make do however you want, but I am going to put an F on there for front. And I'm going to do the same for my second one. Okay, go ahead and build the other front shock and we'll be right back.